Hey folks, Errol over here with the next steps of building our house after getting the topsoil removed and then the hole for the cellar dug. This is Clay building the forms for the footers, which are kind of the big concrete pads that support the weight of the whole house. So anyway, you can see there's going to be kind of a perimeter here as it's assembled and a center support wall.
What I can set it at.
Once those footer forms are all assembled, you got to make sure they're level because anything out of level here will affect the whole house the whole way up. And you got to get rebar put in all the places that need strengthening with rebar. And so at one point my brother Micah swung over to do something for a minute and we conscripted him to help run the rebar cutter for a minute because it takes a bit of force to cut through that thing. Anyway, this is what the finished forms pretty much looked like. Everything ready to pour concrete in, or very nearly ready. Still had some rebar to tie up when that was filmed. Braley did not like when his people were down in the hole and he couldn't get to us, since he's not very good at ladder climbing. He doesn't like when we go places where he can't come along. So overall, this summer has been brutally hot, dry, and windy, and that was certainly the case the day we poured concrete in these footers. So for a minute there, you saw Clay actually watering the bottom of the footers just to add a little moisture to help prevent things from drying out quite so quickly as the concrete pours in here. And then we got a couple back-to-back concrete trucks and filled these forms up with concrete. The temperature outside was 90-something that day, and the temperature down in the hole here, in the cellar hole, with the sun baking into all that exposed rock, which is mostly what's in our soil here, was reading somewhere north of 140 degrees. So this was an absolutely brutal time to be trying to pour concrete, but it's when we were ready for it, and the whole summer's been just blistering. Now, depending where you're watching from, just FYI, normal summer highs here in Wyoming are like 70, not 90. So working at 140 degree temperatures down here in the bottom was just not much fun at all. But thankfully, again, my brother Micah did come help us. We could not have got this part done without a third person before the concrete set up. Fortunately, we do help him with things sometimes, and he's willing to come work for food. So I make him meals, and he'll come help us out when we really need something. Anyway, that was a huge blessing to have him around. And what we're doing here is, the truck is pouring the concrete in the footers. Clay was mostly managing that, and Mike and I were going along and doing the smoothing out, and then here after a bit setting some rebar chunks and some bolts that needed to be in the forms themselves as they cured. There you can see the second truck roll in. They swapped trucks, and the second one was actually waiting before the first one was done, so it set up even faster in these temperatures than the first truck did, which made this a very stressful time. We didn't have time to, drink, pee, nothing, while we were trying to get this all smoothed out and everything set before the concrete fully set, and we almost made it. The last couple bolts that went in, the concrete was really too firm and they didn't quite go in, but we almost made it. But anyway, that's what we're doing here, smoothing, and now the concrete is there, and we're working on smoothing and screeding. One of the handicaps was Clay's done big concrete pours his whole life, but usually with crews that know what they're doing, and this was the first time that either myself or Micah had been involved in pouring concrete, so he was trying to teach and train while we were setting, had concrete setting up in not ideal conditions. So that was also rather stressful, because two of us now know a lot more about pouring concrete than we did at the start of this day, but we started without any background in how this works. But you can kind of see us, getting a straight line there. I'm placing bolts down the one side. We've got some rebar stuck down the other side. This is all what allows the walls, which will be coming up here, in a future video, to attach firmly to the footers, which are attached to the ground. And this is what makes your whole house stable and stay put and hold down in winds and, all that kind of good thing. So this is what we're doing, racing around doing all this. We did get done, and then to help the concrete cure a little more slowly, you'll see we put a sprinkler on the top of it just to moisten and cool down the surface of not even more slowly, but more evenly, so the top surface doesn't dry so quick and crack before the center of that mass of concrete can cure. But we're getting the last few bolts in, and we did get this done. So that was the next big step in building the house. I gotta say, between the heat, which I never deal with well, the stress of working with a product that is, curing and changing as you work, etc. This was a day I will be very glad to never need to repeat. This was not fun. Thanks for spending your valuable time with us.
I hope you learned something interesting and useful.
Or found something beautiful here.